The last thing I remember before the anesthesia took hold was repeating instructions I'd already said twice. Snacks were in the blue container. The kids' pajamas were laid out. My son liked the hallway light on. My daughter would pretend she didn't, but she'd leave her door slightly open. My mom nodded through all of it, like she always did, half listening, half moving on to the next thing. "We've done this before," she said. That was true. Just not in a situation where I wouldn't be reachable. I let that thought pass. I didn't want to go into surgery carrying doubt. When I woke up, everything felt delayed. My body, my thoughts, even the light in the room. It took a few seconds to remember where I was, and then another few to remember why. Recovery was quiet. Machines, distant voices, the kind of calm that isn't really calm. My phone was on the small table beside me. 14 missed calls, not from my parents, from my neighbor. At first, I assumed something small, a question. Maybe one of the kids couldn't find something. I called her back. She picked up immediately. "Oh, thank God," she said, her voice tight. "Are you okay?" "I just woke up," I said slowly. "What's going on?" There was a pause. Not hesitation, more like she was choosing how to say it. "Your kids are here," she said. "They've been here for about 2 hours." I didn't understand the sentence. "They're with my parents," I said. "No," she replied gently but firmly. "They're on my porch. They were alone when I found them." Something in me didn't react right away. It was like my brain was still catching up, trying to fit this into a version of events that made sense. "They said your parents left," she added, "said they had to go." I thanked her. I think I did. The conversation ended, but the information stayed suspended. Like it hadn't fully landed yet. Then I called my mom. She answered on the third ring. "Hi, honey," she said casual. "How did it go?" I skipped over that. "Where are my kids?" Another pause. Shorter this time. "They're fine," she said. "Your neighbor has them." "Why?" "We had to leave," she said. "Your sister needed us more." There wasn't any apology in her tone, no explanation beyond that. Just a statement like it resolved everything. "They were alone," I said. "They weren't alone for long," she replied. "Your neighbor is right there." It worked out. It worked out. I held the phone away from my ear for a second, not because I was angry, but because I needed to hear the sentence again in my own head. "They're 6 and 8, I said. "I know how old they are," she said, a little sharper now. "And I know your sister. She was in a situation. And I wasn't?" Silence, not the kind that leads somewhere, the kind that closes something. "We'll talk later," she said. The call ended. I didn't cry. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even feel surprised in the way I thought I would. It felt confirmed, like something I had been working around for years had finally been stated clearly enough that I couldn't adjust myself to it anymore. The nurse came in shortly after, checking monitors, asking standard questions. I answered them automatically. "When can I leave?" I asked. She looked at my chart. "A few hours. We'll need to make sure you're stable." I nodded. By the time I was discharged, it was close to 5. My neighbor was waiting with the kids when I got home. They were calm, but quiet in a way that told me they understood something had gone wrong. I thanked her again. She didn't ask questions, just squeezed my arm once before leaving. Inside, the house felt exactly the same. That was the part that didn't sit right. Nothing had changed physically, but something had shifted in a way that made everything feel misaligned. The kids stayed close to me, not clingy, just aware. "Are you okay?" my daughter asked. "I'm okay," I said. "We're okay." That felt more accurate. After they went to their rooms, I sat at the kitchen table. For a while, I didn't move. I wasn't replaying the conversation. I wasn't building an argument. I was thinking about logistics. Who had access to the house? Who was listed as an emergency contact? Who would be called if something happened again? It didn't feel emotional. It felt procedural. I called a locksmith first. He arrived within an hour. Efficient, professional. No unnecessary conversation. As he worked, I stood nearby, answering his questions, signing where needed. Each click of a new lock felt less like a reaction and more like a correction. After that, I sat down with my phone, doctor's office. School records, emergency forms. I removed my parents' names, replaced them with my neighbor's, after asking her if she was willing. She said yes without hesitation. Then I opened a document I hadn't looked at in years, my will. It still listed them. Not as primary decision makers, but present enough that it mattered. I updated it. Slowly, carefully, making sure it reflected what I now understood, not what I had hoped was true. By the time I finished, it was close to 9. The house was quiet again. I walked through it once, checking doors, windows, small things that suddenly felt more important. When I reached the hallway, I noticed the light was on. My son must have left it that way. I didn't turn it off. I stood there for a moment, listening to the silence. It didn't feel empty. It felt contained. My phone buzzed once, a message from my mom. "We need to talk." I looked at it, then set the phone down, not as a statement. Not as a decision I needed to announce, just not something I was going to respond to tonight. There would be time later to decide what talking meant. What kind of relationship, if any, would exist after this? But for now, the important things had already been handled. The doors were locked. The contacts were changed. And for the first time, I wasn't waiting for someone else to show up and do what they had promised. I already had.